The Irish and British conflict was an ancient dispute between the two countries. It all started in 1169 when the Normans invaded Ireland, 100 years after invading Britain, and essentially changed everything about the people's lives there. After the Norman invasion, the Irish were looked down upon and became outcasts in their own land.
Previously, the Irish had ruled themselves and had their own cultures and ways of life. But after the Norman invasion, the Irish's lives would never be the same again. Throughout the next 800 years, Irish nationalists fiercely resisted the British rule because they became subject to discrimination and abuse.
Starting in 1916, Irish nationalists waged political and military war against British occupation. They continued to do so throughout the 1900s until the 1960s when the Northern Ireland Civil Rights Association was formed. This association was dedicated to fighting for civil rights for the Irish. They had 5 demands for the British government.
First, they wanted each person to be entitled to a single vote. Second, they wanted to stop the gerrymandered local government boundaries that gave advantages to Unionists. Unionists were the people who were in favor of Ireland becoming one with Britain.
Third, they wanted to end the allocation of Irish housing so the Irish could live wherever they wanted. Fourth, they wanted to stop discrimination in the workplace because the Irish not being paid a fair amount for the work that they did.
Lastly, they wanted the Special Powers Act to be repealed. The Special Powers Act was put in place to give governing powers the ability to maintain the peace, no matter what the cause. This could mean killing someone who spoke of uprising against the British, or severely beating someone who disobeyed curfew.
The NICR stirred up Irish nationalism, and on August 14, 1969, British soldiers were deployed to keep the Irish from disturbing the peace. They introduced curfews and imprisoned many people without a trial.
All the tensions in Ireland finally led up to the year of 1972, the bloodiest year of the conflict between the Irish and the British. In that year alone, 50,000 people were injured and over 3,000 died.
The year 1972 was when the British government suspended Parliament and imposed direct rule on Ireland. The terror started on Sunday, January 30th, when 13 civil rights protesters were shot dead by members of the British Army. That night is remembered as Bloody Sunday.
A few months later, on Friday, July 21st, the Provisional Irish Republican Party dropped bombs in Belfast, killing 9 people and injuring 130 others. Of the 9 people that were killed, 7 were civilians and 2 were soldiers. The Provisional Irish Republican Party, or IRA, was a group of Republicans who shared the goal of pushing the British out of Ireland. Later that year, on November 29th, Parliament passed the Prevention of Terrorism Act. This act put into place many restrictions on the Irish people, including censorship, and gave the police the right to arrest anyone without a warrant.
Tensions continued throughout the next few years until on October 12, 1984, the IRA struck again when they bombed the Grand Hall, killed 5 people, and injured 34 others. The next year, the Anglo-Irish Agreement was signed. This agreement was meant to put a stop to the troubles in Northern Ireland by giving the Irish government a voice in the British-run Northern Irish governing body. The thing was, the British did not have to take into account the opinions of the Irish government.
2 years later, the Remembrance Day bombing took place during a Remembrance Sunday ceremony that was held to honor British military personnel who died in battle. An IRA bomb went off near the memorial and killed a total of 10 civilians, 1 police officer, and injured 63 others. The IRA said that the bombing had been a mistake and that the real target had been the British soldiers marching to the memorial.
This could have been a fatal error for the IRA because it looked very bad in the Republicans' eyes that the party that was supposed to be trying to separate Ireland from Britain would set off a bomb on innocent civilians. Another result was the passing of the Extradition Act, which made it easier to bring members of the IRA from Ireland to Britain for prosecution against their will and without a warrant.
Then, on December 15, 1993, the Downing Street Declaration was signed by the UK's Prime Minister John Major and the Prime Minister of Northern Ireland Albert Reynolds. This agreement stated that the people of Ireland had the right to self-determination, and that if the majority approved, Northern Ireland would be transferred to the Republic of Ireland. It also said that the two governments would come to a peaceful constitutional settlement.
Finally, in August of the year 1994, the IRS ceasefire and opened up a discussion of peace for the Irish and British. Then, on the 9th of February 1996, the time of peace came to an end when the IRA detonated a truck bomb on Canary Wharf, killing 2 people and causing €100 million worth of damage.
Almost exactly 1 year later, in 1997, peace talks started again, and this time they managed to keep the peace. Finally, on April 10, 1998, the Good Friday Agreement was put into place.
This agreement was complicated, intertwining institutions between the Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, and then between the Republic of Ireland and the United Kingdom. It had 3 main strands. First, it settled the status and system of government of Northern Ireland with the United Kingdom. It acknowledged that most people in Northern Ireland wanted to be a part of the United Kingdom, but that a large amount of people wanted Ireland to become a separate country. The final agreement was that so long as the majority of the Irish people wished to be a part of the UK, Northern Ireland would remain under their rule. However, when the majority wanted to be united into a single nation, the Irish and British would be able to peacefully separate.
The second strand officiated the relationship between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. 3 new institutions were developed to deal with the North-South issues. They were as followed: the North-South Ministerial Council, Interparliamentary Association, and the Consultative Forum. These new institutions were dedicated to dealing with the needs of the Irish people and to create a sense of nationalism for the citizens.
Finally, the third main strand dealt with the relationship between the Republic of Ireland and the United Kingdom. They finally agreed that the people of Northern Ireland had the right to identify as Irish, British, or both, and not be discriminated against. They also repealed the Government of Ireland Act of 1920, along with the amendments to the Constitution of Ireland of Articles 2 and 3 that asserted a territorial claim over Northern Ireland. The Northern Irish and British conflict was a very long, hard-fought battle for the civil rights of the Irish in a land that they had once called their own. Many centuries of unfair treatment and discrimination led up to 4 decades of hardcore fighting on both sides that resulted in many injuries and losses of life.
The relationship between Britain and Northern Ireland is by no means perfect, but it is peaceful compared to what it was only 1 decade ago. Both nations are on their way up, supporting each other along the way.